Oh yeah, I remember Joaquin saying you were slightly low last week. Shall I turn you up, or is this a case of you turning yourself up?
Um, I did on Discord. I did put my input up by 5%. It was a 95, and now it's on 100. So we could just see how that sounds. I'll have a
Okay.
listen. I'm just making my way to the control center now.
You peak around -20, and I peak around. I mean, yeah, I'm like ever so slightly louder, ever so slightly. Like I'm really not thinking as
Okay.
much.
Okie dokie. Let's have a little listen. Yeah, sounds fine to me.
Yeah, I just think last week for whatever reason, yeah, you just were down a little bit on your end of it.
Yeah, it's tech roulette. It's tech roulette. You never know what you're gonna get
It's true.
when you show up. It's it's podcast Gump.
Hmm.
You never know what technical issue you're gonna get. We are live. Come on down. Mosey on down.
Nice.
Hey Siri, what's 100 different ways to say come on down?
100 deck. That's a lot. You could have just said 5.
I'm whipping up 100 tweets right now. 100 zeets. Mosey on down.
When do you think we're going to get to the point where Siri can Siri literally just send tweets for you? If you said Siri send post to X saying bum cum, right? Would she actually?
Bum come. My word. I mean, could she? Yeah, would she? I don't think so. I think that's a bit too explicit
No,
for
not
Siri.
necessarily just the actual bum cum thing. I'm saying the act of doing it. Is Siri able to
Yeah,
do that with apps
that's such a
like
good question. We should
post to
ask Siri.
Facebook or post to X or whatever?
Hey Siri, can you post to Twitter? So not only did she not talk,
Oh wow.
she just gave me tutorials on how to post to Twitter. So I'm going to take
Oh
that as
nice.
a real letdown.
No, it's pretty disappointing.
But to be fair, I know people are like set up scripts to make that happen. I think people use like what's that website called that everybody raves about? Like the automation website. If this, then that. Is that what it's called? Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you heard of that before?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've used something similar for. I mean, there's one you can use in terms of like for like a lot of business tools, and it's called like Zapier or
Yeah.
something.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I've not heard of that one.
but I've used it in the past for business tools and stuff. But
But that's crazy. It's like we are like moving ever closer to like that, that dead internet theory where it's like only 1% of the interactions you have online are actually genuine because with AI
yeah,
now, like so many people must just do that and spam because one AI can send out like a million interactions in like 5 minutes, whereas a person, isn't going to do that. I
only a
hope anyway.
million. Probably only a million. Oh,
Yeah.
1 million. Oh,
Only a
half a
million
million.
ever. Yeah.
I see
Uh,
you must kid. All right. Are you ready to get this show on the
cool. All
road?
right. Well, we are, yeah. For our listeners, we are maybe expecting our third to come in, but he might not. What can we say? He's a loose cannon. He's crazy. It would have been great actually to talk to him about him going to literally going to Evo and placing in the top 500. Making him in the top like 0.1% of
Oh,
gamers
did you
in his
actually?
genre.
I didn't know he
He's
placed
got,
in
but I
like
think.
the top 500
I think he said he said he was like 512, like top 600, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
for Street Fighter. I
So
assume. I think that's his
I
big
think
one.
so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that would have been really nice. But it's clearly he's above this.
Yeah,
He's above
he's got better
talking.
things to
He must
do.
be on another podcast. He must be on another podcast, Maximilian's podcast or something.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, God. Bigger and better things. Damn.
Crazy. It's gone to his head. That's what it is.
Yeah, feels bad, man.
Cool. Yeah, let's get the show on the road then. Awesome. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to episode 140 of the Quick Cuisine podcast. My name is Deck. That guy over there, that's Tim.
Hi, everyone.
I'm coming to talk to you today about fiscal reports coming out of Xbox. Bungie has had loads of layoffs. Avowed might be delayed. It's rumored right now. Did you see that? That was like breaking. That was like 2 hours before the show went live.
Yeah,
I did the thumbnail, I did all my notes, and then the news fucking broke, and it was too late. I couldn't be bothered.
I did see your tweet on that. Yeah. Not sure. Dive into that one.
I feel like, yeah, that'd be a good one. But I just as a bit of a weird segue there, I feel like you've been seeing my tweets a lot recently, and that frightens me quite a bit. Is it popping up on your phone, or are you using Twitter? How's that working?
No, it pops up on my phone whenever you tweet. So, and awesome. The notification also just shows most of the tweet as well. It doesn't just say oh, Deck posted to X. It's oh, Deck posted to X, and he said, let Obsidian cook. I think it's fine that it got delayed or whatever like that. Yeah. So and then it piques my curiosity for some of them. Half of your shit doesn't pique my curiosity.
I mean, half of it's gaming stuff. The other half's politics, probably. So yeah. Or something research or psychology related. So yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, that's really good to know. So it might, if you're not getting back to me on WhatsApp, it might actually be a really good way of getting hold of you. That's really good to know. I'm going to keep that in mind.
What do you mean? I always get back to you on WhatsApp. I'm not that bad.
Not today, you didn't.
What?
No, you're pretty good usually.
Actually not. Last time you messaged me was on the 30th, just saying KK.
No, I messaged the group.
Oh.
And nobody got back to me.
Oh, yeah, it's just you posting the fucking notes and shit, though. We always ignore that.
Jesus. Jesus. Okay, right. Let's get into it then. I'm just going to quickly hijack the beginning of the show this week before we sort of get into games, what we've been playing, and all that sort of stuff. If you are UK based, you will obviously already know about the absolutely horrific news that we had over here, where a nursery was invaded. 9 children were stabbed, 3 are dead. This was about 3 or 4 roads down from where I am. It would be a bit of remiss of me to not bring it up because it's been kind of national news. But we ended up attending a memorial a couple of days after because, as I said, it's really local to me. And I just wanted to, not that this is relevant to any of those families, but my hearts are out to them because that is fucking disgusting, really. And then obviously we had a bunch of riots that came afterwards. Which is a lot of understandable anger for a lot of misplaced reasons. And that's broken out locally here again, some in London and some over near Durham way, which is sort of northeast way of England. So it's the other side of the country from where I am. But I just wanted to kind of express, the horror really at all of that. It's disgusting. I mean, Tim, did you catch any wind of it?
I did, yeah. I mean, I caught of it mainly when you were posting to our group chats about it and stuff like that, and then obviously that made me sort of look it up on the news and everything. And yeah, it's fucking awful. Yeah, it's literally I just don't get how someone could do something like that or shit like that can actually happen.
No.
It's just it's truly awful. And yeah, no, I mean. Yeah, it's good that you bring it up because absolutely this stuff needs to be shared and hearts out to those people and everything that happens to their families. It's awful.
Absolutely. real gut wrenching stuff. And it wasn't even like it was. You don't see stuff like this happen much in the UK.
No.
And that's not meant as a slight against the countries of other listeners that we've got. We just don't really see this stuff here. We get the occasional like stabbing from gangs or things like that, but not like mass killings or things like this. Like it's mental. We just don't, especially targeting like nurseries. Like
Yeah, just a
it's
broad
sort of
daylight
twisted fucked
nursery.
you have to be to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really horrible stuff. So, and then obviously, the riots that came afterwards as well really took away from it. It really took away from a lot of the grieving I think that the country was going through, and like moments of unity I think that the country was having, that got swept up, for reasons which were really political. I don't know. Again, Tim, I don't know if you saw, but really, like most of that anger was directed towards the assumption and a misleading bit of information that the stabber was. Came on a boat last year and there was a made up name,
Mm.
because really a lot of the people who were involved in these riots just wanted to know if this person was a Muslim, and that's kind of been this growing conspiracy, and it hasn't been. It's been disconfirmed at this point that this person was born in Cardiff from a Rwandan family, so makes them first or second generation Englishman, Brit.
Mm.
And Rwanda is a 90% Christian country, so I just think it's, I just wanted to put it out there. Honestly, I think it's fucking unacceptable that groups are trying to politicize this
Yeah.
when little girls have been stabbed and killed. I just think it's really fucking unacceptable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I could not mention it. I've spoken about it on the podcast. My little boy is going through some real difficult stuff at the moment, and so I really feel for the families. That's all.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. No, well said. Well said. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry to start the show off on a bit of a downer, but I couldn't not say it. We're a bit of an unremarkable country, so we don't have much to say usually, other than somebody like dropping a crate of tea or something. So
Mm.
we'll move into sort of the stuff for this week then. Thinking about what's happened, what's changed. It hasn't been a massive week. As I said, there was a bit of news that broke in sort of the couple of hours prior to starting the show, around Avowed, which we'll come around to. I think that'll be a good discussion piece. But really, the main conversation was going to focus around Microsoft's fiscal reports for the quarter, which continue to be pretty interesting and continue to be pretty good. But they do paint a picture, and I think that picture is really quite an interesting discussion. So before we get into any of that, Tim, how's the game brain been, bro?
Yeah, it's been pretty standard game brain, to be honest. Not too much to report on this end. I'm still playing Path of the Goddess. And that's still going great. I'm still having a really good time with that. I think I'm nearing the end now, because I think you can kind of visualize it, because you're like, you start at like the top of the mountain and you have to like purge it all the way down to the bottom, and then you've cleansed the whole land, sort of thing. So I'm nearing the bottom of the mountain now as I'm approaching all like the different gates. So I imagine, I think I'm probably like 7 hours in. So like I think maybe by the end I'll probably be approaching maybe the sort of 10-hour mark, maybe 11-hour mark. I don't really know, to be honest. Maybe the game's got more to offer than I think, and there'll be a twist or something like that. But I don't imagine it to be like a really long game, because I think they've done a good job in making the levels quite replayable anyway, by giving you like challenges to compete within them, which I've actually gone back and actually done for quite a lot of
Sweet.
them already. So I didn't expect it to be a massively content rich game. I think they kind of just had an idea, they went with it, and they executed it well. So yeah, so
I like
basically,
that though.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't need that game to be going for 30 hours. I'm quite
Mm,
happy to be wrapped up with that in under 15 hours, and still have a
definitely.
great time. Like I would go as far as saying that's probably one of my favorite games of the year, I think, so far that I've played.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
I think it's definitely. I mean, I'm just trying to think about actually what I have played. I always get kind of fuzzy brain when I think of like what did I actually complete like late last year, or like second half of last year, and not actually the beginning of this year. Um,
Yeah,
but
I feel you.
it's definitely in like my. I'd probably go as far as saying it's probably in my top three. So um, yeah, really good. Having a great time with that. Couldn't recommend it more. Obviously, you can pick it up straight from Games Pass. It's a great pickup. I think it's probably one of the best things they've dropped in there for a while in terms of like a new original IP and like idea and stuff like that. So yeah, and I think that is about it. To be honest, I have played a little bit of Valorant here and there, drips and drabs. But I kind of dropped Sea of Stars for Path of the Goddess because I was kind of vibing with that a little bit more. So I'll pick up Sea
Hmm.
of Stars again when I'm done with POG. Um, so yeah,
Pog.
Pog mate. Unless you use the but POTG, I guess.
Nobody
Yeah,
does that.
Pog. Nah, we're
Yeah.
gonna call it Pog.
Pl-
Um,
Play of the game.
yeah. So yeah, having a great time with it. And that's pretty much it from my game brain.
Awesome. Yeah, honestly, nothing's really changed on my end either. If you're following the show, you know I've also been playing Neon White, also on Game Pass day one. God, what a good service. Am I right? Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, um, uh,
Yeah. I was mid drink, but
uh,
yeah.
and that's a good time, man. I think Neon White's really good. I would probably. Oh, I wanted to get your like final. Seeing as we're coming to the end, you know what score are you seeing at for? Give us the quick resume review.
Oh,
What's your point
yeah,
score?
obviously I'll give one when I actually finish it, but I think right now I'm
Sure.
probably sitting like mm, I'd say like an 8.5. I'd say I'd bump it up a little bit
Great.
more than what it averaged out at because I think it averaged at like an 81 or something, but I'm having a
Mm-hmm.
bit better of a time than that. So yeah, I'd say about an 8.5. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, so yeah, I've been playing a lot of Neon White, and I've just been trying to look up what my current playtime is because I've gotten some really good mileage out of it. I'm 26 hours in, and I'm the same. I'm about to. I'm coming to the end. I think I've got just a couple of levels left. Um, and I think I'd probably give it like an 8. I think I'd give it like an 8, which is like a little bit lower, and I think than average on OpenCritic, which I think came out to like a 90 on the dot, or maybe an 89. I do think like the gameplay loop is really good. I think it's really frictionless. It's just really easy to pick up and play, and I really like that. It's just dragged down by just about everything else.
Mm.
There's not many games that I literally mash skip through or fast forward through. This is one of the games. There's way too much of it. I don't know what they really made a great game and then stapled on like um I mean I don't even know what you describe it as. It's like it's like a friendship system where you
Mm.
get gifts in the levels, and then you give those gifts to the right people, and then you increase their level, and then that unlocks some dialogue. With some of them that unlocks some like secret levels, but the levels don't give you anything. That level just then unlocks more dialogue.
Yeah.
um so that part of the game really honestly just slows down the pace enough that it's quite annoying. Like I just want to get on with the game and go back to the fun bits.
Yeah.
And the annoying thing is as well, you can fast forward through a lot of the dialogue, but you can't skip it. So it just rolls really quickly instead of going like to the next bit,
Yeah.
which is so frustrating. And like I've 100%ed the game so far. Every level I've got platinum, which is the top score threshold, and then there's always a secret on the level as well, like a gift. And I've always gone out my way. I've got a gift on every single level. There's over 100 levels, and I've done that on every single one
Wow.
because it's just really fun to play. But then to give the gifts to people, you can only do one at a time. Oh my god, it just takes so fucking long, and it's like, just give me the achievement and let me go back to playing the game. Um,
Yeah.
so that's like my thing, really. Other than that, it performs great. It's so smooth. My only other like thing of why I'm giving it like maybe a slightly lower than like the consensus score is that I found the music really inconsistent. It's like mostly
Mm.
kind of like drum and bass throughout the most of the game, which is fitting for the sort of game it is. But it's it's just some of the levels. There's like chapters, and in a chapter there's 10 levels, and it's the same track for a chapter. Some of them, like the first chapter, is 10 out of 10, and maybe even 11 out of 10. It's so good. It's like got such a hook to it. It's such an earworm. But then
Mm.
after that, it's either like annoyingly bad, where you have to like turn it off, or it's like okay. Some of them have been good. There's just been, in my opinion, I mean, I'm by no means a musician, so I can't. But I'm just saying how it felt while I was playing it. Sometimes it was just annoying, like to be honest, it was annoyingly bad. But then other times it was like great, and it really got me in the flow. So
Mm.
yeah, that's what I would say. I think it's a super solid 8 game. It's super easy to play if you're like into high action games. You like fast and speed and moving quickly. Really fun for that, and it does have a nice like leaderboard system as well. If you wanted to play, and compare scores with your mates, it's great for like shaving seconds off and things like that. It's really well built and well designed for that.
Well, I'm going to be quite intimidated if I ever boot that up, considering that you've platinumed every single fucking level and all that shit. I'm going to be like, I don't stand a chance on these leaderboards against you.
No, it's not that bad. Like a lot of people, most of the leaderboard stuff you don't even unlock until you've gotten at least a gold medal. So I think that's right anyway. So usually the people on the leaderboards are getting the platinum and then doing loads of runs after that. If you see what I'm saying, like the
Yeah,
platinum is just the best of the normal scores.
I
Um,
see. I see.
so yeah, um,
Nice.
yeah, um, cool. Yeah, but I mean that does it by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Oof, oh, busy boys we are.
Yeah. I've been gaming much.
I wanted to give a quick shout out before we got started. I'm pretty sure it was announced the other day, although I haven't seen it anywhere since. I'm starting to feel like I had a fever dream. Mafia Definitive Edition was announced to be coming to Game Pass.
Oh, really?
Tim, am I making this up? Did you see this?
I have not seen anything about this. No.
Oh my god, please. Please don't tell me it was a
I'm literally
dream.
just Googling it right now.
Yeah, no, it did. It happened. Okay, good.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
This has actually been happening to me more and more recently, where I'm like, I'll remember something and then I'll realize, like, well into actioning that thing, that was a dream and that didn't actually happen.
Really?
Yeah, that's been happening like
It's really
quite a
weird.
lot.
It's like a
Like
dream walker now.
yeah, yeah. I thought I had a whole conversation with my brother-in-law. I didn't tell him actually, but I thought I had like a whole conversation with him about like going to sleep. And I was just thinking about it. I was like, man, that was a weird conversation to have. And then I was like, well, like my eyes, like, went really
Yeah.
big. And I was like, that didn't happen.
Good thing you didn't
That
message
did
him.
not happen.
Oh, good chat last
Yeah.
night, man. Yeah, it's really, really good to just open up to you. He's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah, man. What are you talking about? Idiot. Yeah.
Jeez, that's really weird.
Yeah, it is weird. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just tired. But other than that, other than weird, like, sixth sense
Don't they call it like
dream
lucid
fusion.
dreams when you kind of like, is it a lucid dream when you kind of, you think it's like reality or you like kind of blend the two? Or am I thinking of something
Yeah,
else?
no, you're right. A lucid dream is more when you're like in the dream though. When you're in the dream and you can like
You're
control it.
self-aware.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. I see. I see.
So I was right. Mafia Definitive. This was not one of those times.
Yeah.
Mafia Definitive Edition was announced the other day to be coming to Game Pass in August, and I didn't really know anything about it other than that people speak quite highly of the Mafia
Mm.
series. I've never played any of them, but I know people speak quite highly. And I can see for those who didn't know, like us, came out in September 2020. Open critic average of 78. Critics recommend 8.1. Pretty good scores overall. I might give this a go. I mean, what about you, Tim?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've never played a Mafia, but I have heard good things about it. Yeah, like you, very much. So I don't. Who's it made by again? I can't remember.
I've got no. I know 2K is the publisher. It's made by Hangar 13. Yep,
Hangar 13. All right,
the
sweet.
household name Hangar 13.
Yeah, no, it looks good. I mean, from what I understand, it's kind of like a bit of a. Is it kind of like a sort of LA noir GTA kind of game, isn't it?
It's
Or is
such
it
a good
or is it
question.
or is it like an action game? It kind of gives me sort of like open world kind of rock
It gives me Red Dead
rocks.
vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look on YouTube. That is exactly what it looks like. It looks like
Yeah.
Red Dead, but
Mafia. Yeah, and like LA Noir was obviously like old fashioned cops and stuff like that, but you know, same
yeah,
principle. Yeah, but I think it's just got like a mafia skin on it. But
but 40s, 50s crime.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
But one I'd give a go. I don't know, to be honest. Potentially. I don't think for me it hits that sort of critically acclaimed level where I want to go back and play it. Now it's become a definitive edition and obviously accessible to me and stuff like that. Especially as because it kind of did okay, right? And people talk about it and they're like, yeah, there's fun, but like I don't know if it's done enough for me to go back and play that right now with so much else sort of piquing my
mm,
interest instead. Um, but I mean, it's definitely a good grab. I think for Games Pass, I think a lot of people will have fun on it. Like I feel like it
yeah.
could be a throwback, a little bit of a nostalgia hit for people who played it
Yeah, definitely. And I
quite a
think,
while ago.
it's definitely adding to the streak of uppercuts that the Game Pass has been throwing out. We've already been speaking about like how good the last few months have been, and just to drop this out of nowhere, to becoming an August is just icing on the cake, really.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Cherry on the cake.
Uh,
Cherry
no,
on
I
the
think
top.
icing on the cake. I think is the expression.
But you always have icing on cake.
You don't.
Cherry on the
Not all cakes have icing
expression.
on them.
I mean, I guess that's not true, but like when you think of a cake, you think of a cake with like a layer of icing on top, don't you?
Mm.
Don't you? Is this one of those dreams again? Is
um,
that not what people say?
I mean, I kind of do, but yeah, I guess if
I think
I'm
I'm getting
picturing a
cherry on top
stereotypical,
and icing on the cake mixed up.
yeah, because they're both expressions. Yeah, the cherry on top is an expression, but then icing on the cake is also an expression. They both kind of mean the same thing.
Yeah.
So I
This got
think
me fucked up.
I think you're good. You can pick either one, man. Pick left or right. It doesn't matter. Just pick a route. You're fine.
What does it mean if there's cherry on the cake?
Like it's like
What does that mean?
it's like one of the glazed cherries, isn't it? To like put on top of
Yeah.
like a cupcake or
Cherry.
what do they call them? It's not glazed cherries. It's something else.
Yeah, I think it is.
Mm, yeah,
Cherry on the top of the cake. Man, I'm down a rabbit hole there. This is
yeah, you
awesome.
really are. This is the weirdest shit to be googling mid podcast,
I mean, no. I
mid
think
actual
Fatberg
sentence.
was weirder.
Yeah, Fatberg was weirder, but the people love that. It's a high view episode.
it's it's so true. Give the people what they want. Cool. All right. Shall we get into some of the news then? For this week.
Hmm.
Let's start off with the financial reports that we had come through this week. You can see it by the thumbnail, but what we're looking at here is ultimately quite a positive quarter from Xbox. This is a report, obviously, from the whole of Microsoft, but we don't really care about Surface. Well, I guess you've got a Surface, Tim. I don't care enough about Surface to have made any notes on that, and I definitely don't care about like how well Microsoft Office is still selling.
Well,
So,
good for
well,
you. I put together an entire section for that. So
PowerPoint, yeah.
yeah, let me share my
Slide one.
screen.
You've got like one of the extending rods. You're like slide one.
Yeah, no, unfortunately not. But yeah, be
Yeah.
cool.
So, takeaway for our listeners then. Gaming revenue net up 44%. Xbox content and services revenue up 41%, and Xbox hardware down 42%. This is year over year, so this is compared to quarter four last year. Remember that quarter four for stupid companies is the middle of the year. So it's like
Yeah,
April to July.
yeah,
For some reason, that's their quarter four. So we're talking about this summer period for us in the UK, I suppose. compared to same time last year. And compared to them, overall, gaming revenue was up 44%. And then within that, like bracketed within that, there's then content and services and hardware. Hardware was down quite a lot. Content and services was up quite a lot. Overall net that came out to 44% up. That's kind of the beef here. So really, that's where I wanted to kick this off, Tim. Any thoughts? Looking at the numbers there, based on everything what we know about what Xbox is doing, and even based on what we don't know Xbox is doing, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're looking at this and they're um quite happy with it, right? I feel like they're going
Mm.
up in all the areas they want to go up in, and they're going down in the areas they expected to go down in and have always been going down in. I don't think Xbox hardware being down is exactly a new trend, is it? I feel like that's been going for quite a while. Whether that number's a bit higher this year, I don't know, but like I feel like it's kind of something they expected. But raising in the areas they're actually putting all their attention and focus into is exactly what they want, right? So it's just whether or not that percentage is as high as they would have liked. But regardless, that graph do be going up. So
Then those numbers do be going up. You close Tango, you close Arcane,
the
numby
numbers
go up.
Yeah. You close
Gotta
Bethesda, numby go way up. It's a big studio.
imagine, yeah, fucking 5 years from now, they're just like, if we just close all of them,
Yeah.
we'll keep making money. Phil, no, they need to make money.
Yeah, that's not how that
Stop
works,
closing
Phil.
them down.
We bought them for more than you're closing them for. So that makes no sense, Phil. It's net loss. Nah.
Yeah. Nah. Me close studio, me get money. Well, I mean that, there's been a lot of that going on with the Bungie story, which we'll come around to. The CEO Pete Parsons was like just a couple of days before bragging about how many like supercars he has, and
Yikes.
then laid off like 250 people.
Oh,
Like,
God.
oh.
What a douche.
I mean, I'm sorry to sound like such a dirty little commie, but like I just think that sort of wealth distribution is completely fucked. But whatever.
Yeah. Shit makes no sense. So what is the difference between gaming? What's gaming revenue as opposed to Xbox content and services? Is that gaming revenue just PC included and stuff like that? Is it? And it's like
the way I understand it is gaming revenue is the big picture. Xbox content and services is distinct from Xbox hardware, if you see what I'm saying. Like those two make up gaming revenue because content and services doesn't account for the sales of hardware of Xboxes.
Okay.
So it's just like games and Game Pass, and then Xbox hardware is obviously consoles.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I see.
And of course, you might be thinking, "Wow, this is pretty good news." I thought Xbox was in dire straits. Maybe Xbox is on the mend. No, wrong. Because as you may remember, with what we spoke about the last time we did this, and we had the fiscal reports, ABK made up 58 points of that 61% content and services boost. So, without in the hypothetical world where Xbox didn't acquire ABK, they only made 3%. They only made it in a plus 3%, Tim. And I think honestly, the rest of the episode should just be focused on the hypothetical world where Xbox didn't acquire ABK and didn't actually spend any of that money.
Yeah, but
on anything.
that hypothetical is completely invalid because it was a business decision to buy them to up revenue. So,
but it's cheating, man. You know what I mean? It's just it doesn't really count.
nah. I mean, you can kind of no. Obviously, I completely disagree, but you can kind of see the angle that people do approach that from, because obviously a lot of the games that are pulling in a lot of dough were already pre-established. Blizzard titles before the purchase, right? Like Overwatch 2 and World of Warcraft and all that kind of stuff. So now that's obviously just being injected in, but they were pre-existing before. So obviously, I think the
For sure.
argument's stupid, but you can see why people can have that butthurt approach to it, like 100%.
Totally. Yeah, no, I get it. I get why people bring it up. It's because they don't feel like it reflects, you know,
Hard work,
Xbox's I
graft.
guess. God, the formatting on this fucking Google Doc is driving me nuts. Okay.
Don't worry, man. It's fine. You just snap there.
Jesus
So you just like ramped up as you were talking. You're like, God, this Google Doc is driving me nuts.
It got stuck in the header and I couldn't get it out of the header. God. Okay, whatever, that's fine. Yeah, of course, like I do understand that angle of like, it's separate, and it doesn't help either that Xbox hasn't done a full like acquisition of them in the way that they've done with Bethesda. Like the only reason, like that was highlighted on their fiscal report. Like on their fiscal report, they said content and services up 61%, of which Activision Blizzard King made up 58%.
Hmm.
Like they reported that, so people aren't whiffing those numbers up. They're reporting that because ABK is still operating like semi independently. So yeah, that's all it is. It's just people feeling like it doesn't fairly reflect Xbox's efforts, which is perfectly fine, fair enough.
Hmm.
They're still in wind up mode, but it's been going pretty well. I would say, I'm fairly happy as an Xbox customer. And in which case it would still be plus 3%. So, we're still looking in the green even without that. But looking at the actual business reality of the situation, they acquired ABK for a reason. And that's not just for, like Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, was talking about this. And he said that they've had 500 million monthly active users, in the last quarter, which I mean might be unsurprising, I guess, if you're like, well, yeah, obviously because they've got access to their platform, to PC, to the games that have been now on PlayStation and Nintendo,
Hmm.
and mobile with like Candy Crush. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I mean, man, that's still a lot of monthly active users on the PlayStation side, and it's just a comparison I saw online. It's not like a dig or a platform warrior thing. I saw a number flash up that was PlayStation operates at around 130 million monthly active users, and that's across their PC stuff, their PlayStation stuff as well, and I guess their PlayStation Portal too, and whatever's left on Vita, whatever. So 500 million is a pretty, colossal number.
Hmm.
And I think really when you put that all together, it gives you the impression this is paying off.
Yeah.
Like this acquisition of ABK is paying off. And even without that, they were still in the green, which is actually kind of hard, at the moment. Like from my understanding, like the economics of all of this is really hard. We're seeing game companies close studios, cut staff because demand has like kind of flatlined a bit, and games are so expensive to make, and it's really hard to get it right unless you're already a black hole game like Fortnite or Roblox or COD or whatever. So
Yeah.
they must be chuffed that they're making this much money now with ABK. I'm sure they still want all parts of the business to stand on their own two legs, like the Xbox Game Studios, Bethesda Game Studios, and ABK, but my God, ABK is making a lot of money. Like Jesus,
Hmm.
the number that I don't have it on my notes here, but I think the number I saw was 22 billion in the quarter. 22 billion. They bought ABK for 69. you know,
Yeah.
and that was in one quarter. I'm gonna have to fact check it, but I'm pretty sure that's what I saw. So somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, or leave it in the comments.
Hmm.
But yeah, they must be very happy with that.
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, clearly it's paying. Yeah, like you said, it's paying off. It was a good investment. It was, it was something smart to do for the future, and I definitely think it's kind of the direction Xbox want to go in as well. And they sort of see themselves going in the future, and especially seeing like hardware go down with it as well and stuff like that. I don't think they're alarmed by that because they're in I think they are eventually just going to adopt we're in the business of software, and IPs and stuff like that eventually. Um, so yeah, I think this is paying off, and I think it's a strategy that they're obviously quite happy with. And at the end of the day, the active users and the recurring subscriptions and stuff like that is what's going to keep it afloat, because that's a graph that's not
Mm.
necessarily going to go up and down so aggressively, right? Where it's always going to be a pretty steady graph, especially once you've got a platform and enough big players like they have with Blizzard. It's a graph that's not going to dip and shoot up and dip and shoot up. It's a graph that's just going to stay as it is or rise slowly and stuff like that. You're not going to see um, it's not going to be volatile. Basically, they're building a very solid foundation, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's so right. If you look at kind of the cadence and the safety really that ABK is providing in terms of steady profit, and then you start to think about, well, Xbox Game Studios is just on the precipice really of getting going. We had Hellblade come out, and then next year we're going to be having Fable um, on the horizon. It's Forza Horizon. State of Decay, South of Midnight. What are the other ones? Gears of War. There's all of these Xbox Game Studios ones, and of course, Forza Motorsport was last year as well, just after Starfield. Bethesda
Mm.
Game Studios just had Starfield. And there's stuff coming there in the pipeline too. Starfield DLC, um, Blade, other things I can't think of right now. Oh, Wolf, Indiana Jones. They've got, and that's before all of that is even fully in motion. I would say those wheels are now spinning, but they must be looking at that very happy in terms of their content pipeline, the amount of money everything's pulling in, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you say, I think there must be a degree of safety they're feeling, knowing that their assets are like distributed across different platforms, especially with all these conversations we've been having over the last year, Tim, about like console kind of stagnating, and
Mm.
that being kind of the reason they lost the console war. But nonetheless, consoles are still stagnating on the successful platforms. Like they just keep hitting the ceiling, and the three companies are just slicing the same piece of pie up differently each generation. So Xbox has just said, okay, fine, we'll stay active, but we're just going to spread across everything. And there must be quite a lot of safety in that, especially
Yeah.
with this kind of resurgence of kind of PC popularity, and the mobile being as ridiculously um popular as it is. And that's not just about the platforms, that's across like geographically as well, with, for example, mobile being really popular in Korea and consoles being less popular. There must be a big sigh of relief and a sense of safety that this is playing off. Not that it will be a surprise to them, nor is it really a surprise to us, but
Mm.
it's just interesting to see it in motion, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's quite a unique position for Xbox to be in, because in no point, well, for a long time, maybe peak 360 days, Xbox has not seemed safe, has it? It hasn't seemed like it's, in a business sense, like not a risk to invest in and to pump more money into. Whereas right now, it's not really feeling like that much of a risk. I mean, I'm sure there's still quite a lot of
Mm.
eyes on them with such a big purchase for it to actually, pay dividends relatively quick. But yeah, it's just quite a unique position, I think, for the brand to be in for a long time. So
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. There was there's a couple of different angles just to keep going on from here. The first one is that I wish I could tell you, but Google Notes has swallowed my
just just
fucking
just
screenshot.
command Z it or whatever to get rid of it,
Yeah,
to bring it back.
man, if I could, I would, but I think when I'm putting stuff it's when it's getting swallowed by the headers, it's not being counted as an action for some reason, so I can't undo it. It's fine. I've got it in my phone notes. So let me just read it out.
Okay.
Okay, so this is coming from Tom Warren, who from The Verge, who listened in to the fiscal call or the townhouse meeting, whatever they call it, the stupid names that they give it in business. Um, but Amy Hood is the CFO, and we saw her involved a lot during the Activision, and she regularly makes comments about the business of Xbox. And my intuition is that a lot of the things that the CFO says is the stuff they actually mean. And then the press reports we get and the stuff that Phil Spencer says is kind of the window dressing. They're the ones who
Hmm.
kind of sweep it down a bit, or make it feel better to the gamer, because sometimes these things get interpreted differently. People will be like, oh, it's just the shareholder meeting, they just say whatever they need to the shareholders. That doesn't represent what's actually going to happen. But then I always find with Xbox, these are the things that come to pass. I remember some of these comments being said years back about other platforms being explored, and none of us, we were all like, yeah, no big deal, and it's come to pass.
Yeah.
So just bear that in mind as I read this small quote out. So CFO Amy Hood points towards Xbox moving towards, quote, looks more like to us a software annuity and subscription business with enhanced transactions and ownership of IP. Hood points to progress with Game Pass and IP that can, quote, be monetized in multiple ways. So not a single mention of hardware there. A mention of buyable, purchasable content and that you own, and subscription income. That
Mhm.
was what she just said to the board about what they think their future is in terms of money, and obviously that end bit about that being monetized a bit further as well, which you see in terms of microtransactions, early access, higher Game Pass tiers. I suspect that's probably what they mean. But I found that very interesting, and I find that very telling, because that's the other side of the coin. Hardware sales are obviously down again, and they're kind of plummeting. Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is it's kind of exactly what I said as well, like earlier, literally like 10
Hmm.
minutes ago, where
Hmm.
I said Xbox are probably in the near future. I don't know what you define as the near future, the next 5 to 10 years or something like that. I don't know. They're probably are looking to become, yeah, like I mentioned, that software IP subscription based business that are basically just going to get put themselves in as many different ecosystems as possible, whether it's PC, PlayStation, Nintendo, everything like that, fucking Fire Sticks, TVs, smart TVs. They're just going to just spread everywhere like a virus and just all their software and
Jesus.
IPs. Like, I do think that is the area they're going to go down. I don't think that's going to be a drastic shift immediately. Um, but I think that's the route it's heading down. I think we'll still have hardware for a little while. Um, but whether or not they just kind of ramp down on it, or whether or not they just choose to stop doing home consoles. Their next console is like that Switch hybrid, that is like half portable and half not, and then they just sit on that for a while and they don't need to compete in the home console market, and then they just put their software everywhere. Yeah.
Hmm. And this is it, we keep coming back to this conversation about what's next, and only because all signs are pointing towards some sort of switch up, some sort of change. We know what the rumors are. We've spoken about it, a lot of times. It's looking like a handheld, and then maybe with less credence, some sort of PC console hybrid. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe the future is even looking like just optimized PCs with an Xbox sticker on the front, Uh,
Mm.
Um, that they just officially license out. Here's your lower end Xbox, it's just a £500 Xbox. Here's your mid end, it's 1,500. Here's your high end Xbox, and and you boot it up, and it auto boots into the Xbox app. But of course, you can do other things on it as well, because there are other. I'm about to get into territory where I don't know much about it, so somebody needs to stop me if I'm starting to embarrass myself. But like some PCs just run on like one piece of software, don't they? Like Chromebooks, don't they just basically run Chrome? Like they just run on that software and nothing else.
No, they have their own OS. It's called like Chrome OS, but it's basically like a branch off from um like a mobile OS sort of thing. So
Okay.
it runs
Could you
very
play games on
similar.
it?
Uh,
Like, could you download Steam?
it's a good question. I don't
Hmm.
think so. I don't think so. I think you could play anything like you said, browser based, or if you wanted to stream something or you wanted to use GeoForce now or anything like that, you're fine. But I don't know. Yeah, I think as far as the apps you can get on it, I don't think everything caters to it because yeah, it's kind of like its own OS, like a mobile hybrid sort of OS. So it might not necessarily have Steam unless Steam have a dedicated app for it.
Okay. Yeah, so I just Googled it. Unfortunately, at the time of writing, not many Chromebooks support Steam.
Yeah.
So essentially, no, with the exception of occasionally. Um, so, and that's kind of how I think about what that might be, if they are just going to start going fully in on PC, which which would make sense, in some sense. I think they need to be very, very careful about how they handled that. Because it's one thing to talk about the business of it and the future of it and the positive elements, the exciting parts of it. But then there's 30 to 40 million Xbox owners out there, me included, that um are going to be very worried about their digital library, about what's happening there. We just saw the
Mm,
Xbox 360 digital marketplace shut down this week,
yeah.
which was a shame, in terms of game preservation, especially as Xbox being the company that um, talk a lot about game preservation. They've done a great job with the backwards compatibility, but that only supports really quite a small amount of the amount of games that were on there. I think it was something like 650 games, and I don't know how many thousands of games came out in that generation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we all understand the pros and cons of that, but nonetheless, you could see how that could be a scary future. How at some point your digital library on an Xbox Series X might just stop existing, or you may no longer be able to use it anymore. It might just be a paperweight. So
Mm,
how they handle that transition, if that is going to be the case, will be very interesting. But you could certainly see a future where Xbox just ditch all of the upfront costs associated with making a console and just say, we make PCs now. Because honestly, these days, Tim, I don't see why an Xbox branded PC with like heavy optimization and like a built-in like layer in a way which like I won't be able to articulate, a built-in layer in the same way that Chrome OS is, to get the price down, couldn't compete with a traditional console. It depends how they handle it. If it's the right size, if there's a good form factor to get it to be able to get it running right next to your TV. um I mean, that could work as well. It depends on the execution, but I could certainly see it working because the idea of PC and console has obviously been blending now for so long.
yeah. No, yeah, yeah. I'm kind of with you. I feel like that is a pretty good route to go down. In terms of yeah, fulfilling their well, what you'd like to think is their business goal is to sort of be on multiple platforms and not have to shackle themselves to their own home console and their own operating system and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good way of doing it. And like you said, you can have like your lower, higher end tier options with different power variations and stuff like that. Although that in itself might cause the similar complications that you do see not often, but you have seen with the Series S and X, where some devs just can't really make it happen, or there are delays because of it. So
Mm,
you
mm.
you kind of throw out the window of everyone gets everything at the same time. Maybe if you go down that sort of route, um, but it definitely. I feel like that's the sort of thing they're probably testing shop right now and they're seeing how they can do this. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely quite interesting. I'm trying to think
It just
of another thing I was going to say, but it has
oh,
it's lost. So you go, you go.
okay. Well, but button if it comes to you.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, it gets the brain, it gets the cogs a turning, like I said, especially because Amy Hood didn't mention hardware there,
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. I don't know if that means necessarily they're going to stop making hardware, but obviously they're already involved with the production of PCs in many cases, so that wouldn't be an extra focus. So to me, it becomes a question of if they are looking to blend these two even more, which I'm fairly confident they are. It's going to be: are they making an Xbox with a PC with PC elements, or are they making a PC with Xbox elements? I
Mhm.
think that. They're obviously making a handheld as well. That's kind of its own territory, its own market. Well, it seems like they are. That's the rumor. But I think the first bit is more more sort of poignant to this.
Mm. Yeah. I think it makes more sense to sort of start from the PC end and scale down, if anything, right? Start with PC architecture.
You'd have thought.
I think that makes more sense. But hey, hey.
You'd have thought. You would have thought, and I think with what you were saying there, if the architecture becomes difficult, like, do they get launches like second? Do we start getting like second class citizen treatment again? Well, I suppose the advantage is that they've acquired so much shit that either way, a lot of the big stuff, not all of it is guaranteed to be day one on Xbox platforms, wherever that may be. But yeah, I mean, I suppose that there is always the possibility of that if there's some sort of weird architecture going on. But it would kind of make sense, right, that they would want to make it so the whole thing can happen in house, so that they don't have to make these weird spin off consoles and instead can just make funky PCs, especially now that we're in the age of like handheld PCs. There are limitations there with the computer science and stuff, like the
Mm.
batteries and the amount of things they can hold, like, to keep their form factor. So I wonder how they would be able to make that work with like a smaller TV adjacent box rather than a massive console tower, because that way. So there's a lot of questions there. It does, it definitely gets you thinking about what they're doing. I wonder if they do have the plan and they have already landed on that, because what they're saying there makes me think that they do have a plan.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I think they do. And I think that you'll start to see that plan in I don't know, maybe a couple more generations. I'd say. I think they might do another Xbox, another like home console or
Another like
whatever the
conventional
next.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
another one. Whether that's the portable one we see, or whether or not they just do another home console straight up PS6 competitor, and then I think in that sort of 3 to 5 year span of that next generation, you're going to start to see them moving into the more experimental um, kind of footing. And I think that's probably quite a good strategy as well, because Xbox have always been quite good at sort of paving the way for new things, and I do think they'll be doing that with this as well. But they can also just sit back and just sort of see how the market reacts to a lot of the experimental third party stuff that's going on right now as well, and then just make a better iteration of it and see what the public really wants. You don't always need to take that first step, and I think they will be in a lot of regards. But maybe with hardware, maybe they just cook for a while and just see what happens and adapt accordingly.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely, that's part of the equation, isn't it? If they are looking to do something different, is that something sooner rather than later, or do they just delay another generation and do something a bit more conventional in the meantime?
Mm,
Remains to be seen. It remains to be seen. Um, and I think this is part of the issue that Xbox is facing. It's a crisis of identity, really. I really believe that. I think that's
yeah.
part of the reason hardware sales are plummeting. Because, like, we've said this before and we kind of acknowledged this. The quality of Xbox titles, other than Redfall, since like 2020, has been high. The publicity around some of them has been wobbly, and like the live service handling hasn't always been great, but overall the games they launch have been really high. And when you look at the aggregate
Yeah,
scores across all the platforms, they're like within a point of each other. So the
yeah.
quality isn't really the problem anymore. It's like a perception problem, and maybe like a size or marketing problem. Like
Image problem. Yeah,
yeah, like not enough big games. So they just need to hit this cadence to
yeah.
turn that around.
Well, it's just that uncertainty, isn't there? I mean, remember how with the rumors started not that long ago, where everyone just thought Xbox was fucking dead and their digital library was in the toilet and the internet just caught fire, from that perspective. Like, I
Yeah,
still think I still think there are some aftermath for that sort of thing, and people aren't, they still have
definitely.
their guard up, and you just need to convince people of the direction you're going. I don't think there's inherently a wrong direction to pick, but just pick one, just commit to something rather than just being in this weird sort of limbo stage.
Definitely, and that's where kind of the lack of communication is becoming a problem, and it's probably because they're still figuring it out, or have been figuring it out up to this point, and they aren't ready to share the plans yet. And of course, I don't want to announce things too early. There's a reason for that, because you can end up cannibalizing, your own sales now. If you tell everyone what's coming next, people will just wait. It's why they haven't spoken about the Switch 2 yet.
Yeah.
But I think, as has always been the case, Xbox finds itself in the most interesting position of all of the big three. You know, and
Mm.
this time I think it feels fairly positive. Like there's definitely change, and it will depend on execution and how they handle it. But I'm really interested to see where this goes.
Yeah.
And the financial reports that we've looked at, I think just kind of reflect all of that, really, especially for people like us who talk about this a lot. It makes it really interesting times.
Mm.
It's always there's always something happening.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I prefer to be on this side of the discussion and have like my chosen platform, whatever. Again, we try not to be biased, but like I prefer it to be a little bit more spicy than boring, right?
Oh, it's spicy, all right.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
it's spicy, all right.
Xbox definitely provide the spice. That's for sure.
Great, cool. All right, we'll move on to our second topic then. I just wanted to quickly acknowledge Joaquin's really insightful comments. Tim Poopmouth, Xbox, Best Box, Bungie dead, PS dead, Poopy Scoopy. Tim looks like he woke up from a 5-year coma and can now see premonitions.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'm a future sight man. That's what they call them. Fortune teller. I don't know.
A future sight, man.
I'm a future sight man. No, I'm really tired tonight, Joaquin. So just lay off the gas, yeah.
Take it easy on him. All right.
Chill, bro.
Take it easy on the little fella.
Uh,
All right. Tim, we'll go into some of the Discord news now, and then we'll go into Bungie, and then we'll go into Avowed afterwards. I've just sent you the link for the Avowed deep dive. If we could pop that up for when we get round to Avowed, I've just sent it in Discord. Are you able to do that, or is that going to fuck with everything?
I don't know.
It's going to be a pain. Don't worry.
Maybe I haven't set up live viewing for a while. Let me have a look.
Okay. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't want to.
Sure.
Cool. Cool. I'll move into the next story then. So we've kind of gotten an update on Discord integration on Xbox this week, which is really nice. This whole Discord integration is actually, funnily enough, it's a good segue, right? Because it's like Discord and Xbox are getting ahead of the blending of console and PC. Play with your friends anywhere, no matter where they are, mobile, PC, cloud, whatever. And it's been pretty good actually. We started using it a while back, didn't we? When I was having some party chat difficulties before I figured that out, and it works like fairly seamlessly now. Like there was there used to be a bit of fucking around you had to like go in your app and join from there and then send it over. But I don't think that's the case anymore. I think you can just join channels now.
I believe so.
Just in terms of the headlines of what the integration is here, you can now watch friends' Discord streams. So people can stream from Discord and you can watch that from your Xbox. Pretty nice, I think. Friends' voice channels now appear under the Happening Now directly in the Xbox guide. And you can now call your Discord friends directly from your Xbox. Oh, there you go. That's exactly what I was just talking about. So yeah, you can do that now. You can just do it. You can just initiate it straight from the Xbox rather than having to go through your phone.
It's neat. Yeah, definitely.
It's neat.
Yeah, I like the integration with Discord. I think it's pretty good, and I think, yeah, I think if Xbox Party Chat wasn't, quite so simple and solid as it is, and we hadn't been using it for a while, and there were definitely some benefits to using using Discord. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty seamless now to the point where you could literally just straight swap it. You don't need to use Xbox Party Chat anymore. So if this is your preferred UI or platform, or you got some mates on PC or anything like that, I mean, it's pretty damn seamless now, with these new updates. So yeah, kudos. Well played.
Sorry, I've just got a peanut butter filled pretzel.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're just little bites.
That could be like a more awkward thing to like eat though while you're trying to talk, like gloopy peanut butter dough.
Yeah, I didn't really think that through before I stuffed it in my gob. I'm gonna put the lid on that.
Sound good though.
Yeah, very nice stuff. I like that Discord integration, and I think it's quite telling as well of what a lot of the publishers are thinking about by letting that on their platform. I swear there was something else I was going to say then, and I forgot it now. So that's fine. Let's just move on to Bungie. There's a joke here about a bungee rope and falling and not I can't quite find it. Do you know what I mean? There's a joke here. I probably shouldn't be joking about it, but there is a joke here, and I can't quite find it in a respectful or even articulate way.
I'm not sure about this. I'm not on board with this one. Just throwing that one out there. Whatever he says is his alone.
Gonna need a bungee cord after this is done.
No.
I'm all right.
That was pretty bad, all things considered.
Oh, that was okay. No, that's all right.
What the hell is going on? I'm trying to sort out this live viewing. Sorry.
Okay, I'll get started. Okay.
Yeah.
That joke obviously is directed at the fuckwads at the top of Bungie, and I guess PlayStation for acquiring them and then cutting jobs. I mean, this happened with Xbox as well. Acquired Bethesda and then immediately laid loads of them off. It's probably like realistically, it's not Xbox's fault. It's not PlayStation's fault. It's the state that the companies were already in before. But there's a bit more of an interesting wrinkle here with Bungie, in the sense that we knew when they were acquired, PlayStation paid a lot of money for staff retention. Which was a really clever move, I thought, at the time. I thought, yep, Xbox needs to do that more often because they acquire people and then people leave. And it's just like, what have you acquired? So this was overall Bungie shrinking from 1,300 people to 850 people. 220 are being laid off. 155 are being taken out of Bungie and moved into Sony, into PlayStation Studios, sort of distributed that way. And then around 40 people are being moved from Bungie's incubation team to a new Sony studio. So Sony is sort of building a new studio internally, and 40 of them are being pulled out of Bungie and into that. So I will say, I think it's pretty good. And Jeff Grubb followed it up with this as well, saying that they tried to soften the blow by taking as many as they could out of Bungie and pulling them into PlayStation. I think that's pretty good, to be honest. I think that's, all things considered, that's quite good. And that happened with one of was it Roundhouse Studios?
Yeah.
I think it was Roundhouse. Correct me if I'm wrong. They all got pulled into ZeniMax Online. So it's good when they manage to do that. I'm sure it's just a logistics thing, whether they can't or they can't, they can or they can't.
Mm.
But obviously, pretty horrible news, in the long lines of layoffs that we've had in the last few years. And especially surprising because Bungie just had arguably their best content release since the Taken King in Destiny 1, right? Which was, I don't know, 7 years ago now or something, right? Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
what was the fucking expansion called the Destiny 2 just brought out? The light, the last light. Light. It's not light. The last shape, final shape. And you would get there in
The
the end.
final
We
shape.
got it.
Jesus.
The final shape, that's the one. Yeah, like because that game's going to appear in Game of the Year nominations this year. I would be surprised actually if it didn't get nominated for Game of the Year, full stop. Because I mean, Cyberpunk did, its expansion did,
Mm.
and Destiny Review just as well. So it's crazy that they managed to release that, and that still wasn't enough. So coming back to what we were talking about with the talent retention, we heard when they required part of the contract was that if they didn't perform well enough, Sony are going to take control. Basically, they're going to start
Okay.
getting more and more involved. And Jeff Grubb is saying that that's exactly what's happening here. So just to quote his tweet, I'll put it as far as I know, which isn't everything by a long shot. In time, Bungie will lose its autonomy and will become like any other PlayStation worldwide studio under Sony Interactive Entertainment and Herman Holst, who is like the content manager of the PlayStation studios.
Mm.
Thoughts on all of this, Tim? I know you've been busy trying to sort Discord out, but
No, I haven't for the last while. I've got a bit of an error popping up here though. A bit weird. I don't know what the hell it means. YouTube is. I don't
I'll
know.
check stream.
Hopefully it's all right, but I don't know. Yeah, my laptop seemed to kind of just like die on itself while I was trying to open up your link and do stuff. So I think we might just pass on that for now. So I'll get it sorted for the next one. But yeah,
Yeah, okay. It's working now, so it's fine.
okay, cool. Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. And I mean, to be honest, if that's what they kind of signed up for and they knew that was going to happen, then I guess it is what it is. But I don't know what these performance indicators were set as what Bungie needed to
Yeah,
hit. So maybe they were a bit unrealistic, a bit greedy. I don't really know, but yeah, because like you said, they've actually kind of been on a little bit of a hot streak. Although I do think the expansion before the final shape actually was pretty dreadful, if I remember correctly. I don't think it was very good. So
yeah.
they have been quite up and down. I think it's quite
That was
interesting to
Lightfall, wasn't it?
see. Yeah, I think so. Or it was no, it wasn't. No, Lightfall was a while ago. I think it was the one with they introduced like the green abilities with all the
Grappling
movement.
hooks, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that was Lightfall, was it?
I don't remember.
Maybe
I
it
thought
was.
it was, but maybe not.
But yeah, I find it quite interesting to see how this is going to affect like their projects we know they've got going on already. Like,
Yeah.
what was it called? The marathon, wasn't it? Yeah, marathon.
Marathon, yeah.
Yeah, how's that gonna look now? With the layoffs and people moving around and stuff like that, because that's was set to be a AAA um shooter, right? I think it was supposed to be like an extraction shooter, and then it got announced to be some sort of a team shooter or something like that. Again, I think it got a bit of a rework or something, but yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to see how that's been affected now as well. If that's going to get scaled down, canned,
Mm.
who knows? You know.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a couple of other wrinkles to this as well. Obviously, that Bungie was the one that advised Naughty Dog to stop making their, multiplayer Last of Us game. You know, um, that happened, and I see quite a few people being, interpreting that very generously. I think I just read it on from Jason Schreier over at Kotaku, but I've lost the tweet now. But it was something along the lines of, "Oh, this is you should be happy that that happened, because look at all these players who make these studios who make single player games, who made service games that completely flopped." Which, like, fine, fair enough. My problem isn't necessarily about the history of it. It's more about, did the devs want to make that? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if they didn't and they cancelled it, then sure, fine. But if the devs were like, we're tired of making these Uncharted, these Last of Us, let's make a bit more multiplayer. Like, instead of making these kind of cinematic games, let's go for something multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
And they've kind of been robbed of that from Bungie, who are now being downsized heavily for not hitting targets. There's a bit of, what are we doing here? Who's advising who? I like
Yeah.
so I, I suppose they still have Bungie still have the know-how in that area, but it's just a bit of a bad look to be telling other studios to cancel projects when this is going on. And it confuses me even more because people do talk about, like, Destiny 2 like not performing well, or like, oh, I guess that's the implication, right? Oh, it must be doing so badly despite the really critical success of the final shape. But then I'm looking at the player numbers, right? On Xbox, number 16th most played game. On Steam, 26th most played game. What are we talking about? Like, is that not enough? Peak players of 100K in the last 24 hours for Destiny 2?
It's a lot.
Like, what are we talking about? Like, is this game not performing well? I guess 1,300 is a big studio. Like, that's a big team. That's a lot of, you're paying a lot of money
Mm-hmm.
there. But like you said, it makes me wonder, like, what were you expecting? Like, what did you want? You wanted this to beat Fortnite? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So yeah, it's. I mean, it's just the service game trickiness, isn't it? Like, it's so hard
It's definitely
to
the most
judge what
competitive.
out of it.
It's definitely the most
Yeah, like
competitive
it's.
genre to get into. 100%. If you don't see results, you just kind of can it immediately. It's very competitive,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, yeah, because by no means are they doing bad, but maybe they're looking at Bungie's future projects and thinking, with Destiny 2 ramping down now and Marathon being your next project, like you said, does that warrant a team of 1,300 people, or you can probably do this project with less, um maybe there was just a lot of stuff that needed trimming down there. I don't know the inner workings of it, obviously, but numbers wise, doesn't look awful. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But then didn't Bungie go kind of free to play for a while for a lot of its previous or it still is, I think, just completely free for like previous expansions leading up to a certain point. So sales and revenue would only be coming from the new content they're making. Um, so there's that
I
to factor
suppose,
in as
but
well.
there's
But
things like battle passes as well. You have to expect that the more players that are in it, the more people are getting monetized. I mean, but I mean, I see what you're saying. There's no big upfront cost there that's factoring into that number.
mm, yeah,
Yeah, I think it's quite funny actually. The contrast between this story and the ABK. We were just talking about, obviously, Xbox's financials. You may remember a while back when both of those acquisitions happened. Jim Ryan at the time, came out and said, we actually see way more value in Bungie as an acquisition, which of course isn't wrong, but it was just a bit of a. I think it was meant as a bit of a defensive statement of,
mm,
like, this is actually the better purchase for us, as if they wouldn't have wanted ABK if they could afford it.
yeah,
And and ABK is like making all this like ridiculous amount of money, which of course it is, because it's a
yes,
behemoth.
yeah,
I, sup- I suppose, just to wrap like this story up, my real, we all kind of understand the, like, headwinds that these companies are up against at the moment. It's happening everywhere, so I'm not, there's no point pointing fingers for any of this. Um, but what I am actually worried about is Bungie, like, being hollowed out. Like if that team is being moved into Sony, which is great in turn, like for job saving, and Sony are taking more control of the studio, I'm a bit worried about what, like, wait for Marathon to get re-revealed in 2.5 years as an over-the-shoulder third-person action-adventure game.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
know,
you think they might just like lose that any creative freedom they had and just end up going down a very Sony formula path? Yeah, potentially.
I mean, obviously they're always going to say stay a service game, so I'm being facetious, making service games, so I'm being facetious a little bit,
Yeah,
but I think that's a fair concern that the studio could end up getting hollowed out if this is the way we're going down. I mean, Xbox has the problem on the other side of the continuum, is that they're so fucking hands off that they just forget that they're about to release an absolute stinker that's going to sink the
yeah.
brand with Redfall. Like, oh, what's
Yeah.
that? Redfall coming out? Yeah, that'll be ready to go.
They didn't forget. They fucking plastered that shit everywhere. They did deep dives on it. They put it on their banners for upcoming shit. I don't know what they were doing.
But don't you think you should check in and have a look at what the game is like? Nah, they're just plastering it. It's
It'll be
okay. They
fine.
don't miss. Just plot. You're just gonna over it. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
It's like that meme with a dog sitting in the chair with like fire everywhere.
Yeah.
So this is fine.
Use that literally on a daily basis. That gift. It's very good.
Great. Okay, we'll move on to our last story for the day then, which broke just before the show. Avowed possibly delayed to 2025. Tom Warren of The Verge reports this, saying, quote, I'm hearing that Obsidian is about to announce an Avowed delay to early 2025. I understand Avowed is in good shape. This is more of a matter of wanting to give the game breathing room outside of a very busy period for Xbox Game Pass. Windows Central then, end quote, Windows Central then came out to corroborate the report as well. I guess the first thing that I just wanted to say was, are they learning? Is this what Xbox with games looks like? No.
Can't be. It's fluke.
Move.
They probably just flipped a coin and it
games
went in their favor.
Somebody spilled coffee on like the spreadsheet and they're like, fuck, when was it going to come out again? When was it going to come out?
2025?
I think it was 2025.
Yeah,
There's like an ink mark.
Yeah, that's fine. That'll do.
So, I mean, I am really looking forward to Avowed. I was looking forward to playing it this year. I think, the latest deep dive and the latest showings showed the game in a much better light. And that's kind of reflected in even in the like to dislike ratios on YouTube. They're really, really high now. In the earlier showings, they were a bit more mixed, still mostly positive, but they were a bit more mixed. But now they're like the usual, 95% liked to 5% disliked. It showed much better and made the game look a lot better. So, however, yes, Xbox needs to start thinking about this. If they're going to release this many fucking things, because they've got such a big portfolio, like they need to start thinking about spacing things out. Nintendo famously do this. Nintendo famously hold on to games to give them a good release window, which Xbox has just been absolutely dreadful at. They just don't release anything for 7 months and then release 3 massive games in the space of 2 months, and it's like, what are we doing here? You must see that this cannibalizes. They eat into each other. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, at first glance, I'm met with a bit of disappointment there. Like you said, I was kind of excited that Avowed would be coming to the end of this year. Especially is when something like indie's not really hitting that hard for me. So I'm not buzzing for that. So I was kind of like, oh, it's fine. I'll have Avowed anyway, so I'm not that bothered. But then when you do look at it from, the outside looking in, it makes sense, right? We even said this, I think. We commented on it immediately when we got that indie release date. And obviously it was rumored, Avowed release times as well. And I think the first thing we said was, well, where the fuck's Avowed gonna go? What's going on here? There's they're gonna be stepping on each other's toes. I was literally immediate response. So there definitely is yeah, there's definitely some merit to just delaying it 100%. Just let them cook a little bit more, polish it up. Hell, they could maybe even add a couple more things, some extra stuff, some nice to haves that they weren't going to get in for the end of 2024, but now they can for, Q1 of 2025. So I don't think there's really any negatives to it. Gives it its own spotlight. They can really just get it ready and um, yeah, I really don't see an issue with it, but I'm kind of bummed because I would have liked to play it. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, man. And I think more so for you than me, but definitely with me, like a lot of the first party lineup this year, I think they've got a good first party lineup this year, but this isn't like an excellent year for me personally by any means.
No.
I was really into Hellblade 2. Hellblade isn't really your thing. I'm really going to be excited for Starfield Shattered Space. That's not really going to be your thing. Indiana Jones, both me and you are on the same page. COD, we're on the same page. So then we've got some other outlying smaller things, maybe Towerborn, maybe Age of Mythology. Of course, Flight Sim isn't again our thing. So
Mm.
Avowed kind of is to me was kind of like the big one that I was looking forward to this year. So it is a bit disappointing, but I can't really. I get it. I find it hard to complain with how well Game Pass has been feeding me recently.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I think you're right. Like I think it's a nice. It would be fine to move that to the beginning of the year. Like release something at the beginning of the year. Like just release something between January and April, please.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, that really doesn't happen often. Yeah.
It's just mental how they keep managing to like fucking miss that window. Like the only way they can make it work is if they're like they forget that they have a game ready to go and they're like, oh, Hi-Fi Rush, yeah, let's drop that now. Well, that can come out. Otherwise it's like, yeah, no, everything is going to be between June and December, or May and December, as it's been this year with Hellblade.
Yeah.
Um, I also think Avowed serves to improve the most simply because of like the reputational damage, like in terms of like there's still an expectation adjustment going on with Avowed that there's still a lot of people feeling like, oh, this doesn't look, it's AAA as I thought it would, even though there's more people buying into it now. So I
Mm.
think you're right. Like a bit more polishing here and there, I think will serve the game really, really well, even though it's looking much, much better. And as Tom reports, it's in good shape. That's what he's hearing. So
Mm. Oh yeah, I mean we can all vouch for it being in good shape. I mean the showings they've had since their last like trailers and their deep dive was it was leaps and bounds better than when we first saw it. Like it's crazy. Like it installed so much more faith in the game itself for me, which I was already excited for. So, um, yeah, no, like 100%. Just let them cook a little bit more. It's not a big deal. I don't think there's like an insane amount of buzz behind this game where it being
no,
delayed. People are going to be like, oh fucking man, I was buzzed for that. I'm out now. It's not that kind of game. So I think it doesn't cause too much harm to just push it back a few months. Like, it really doesn't.
definitely. And I think, we they've said that they're going to have a showing at Gamescom, and I think the Xbox Twitter account just recently made a post actually saying, "Yeah, Microsoft will hold Xbox Theater presentations of Avowed, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and Starfield Shattered Space at Gamescom this year." I suspect that's where we'll get the delay, or maybe even just before, so then they can show the game and maybe make everyone feel better. The only
Mm.
problem they might run into is if they're delaying it to the first quarter of 2025, if they then decide to show Avowed again at the developer direct, which, like, why wouldn't you? I think the fatigue will start to kick in, and people will be like, "Can I just fucking play this now?" I think it'll
Yeah.
get death looped in a sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's only so many times you can see something before you're eventually gonna just be like, yeah, just give it to me. Like, is this product fake or like what's going on? But I
Yeah,
do I do think they just I still think they have to commit to a release date quite soon as well, though. They can't just keep leaving
yeah,
it
yeah,
without a release date. You gotta eventually just put a fucking date on that. Otherwise people are still just gonna be like, oh, what? Like, when was this thing out again? Like, it's just whether that happens at
definitely.
Gamescom and they say it's 2025. Don't just say 2025. Just say like
Yeah.
fucking January 20th or February 9th, whatever. Just give it something. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Although I will say, on reflection, it means that I think they made a very good decision not giving the release date at the showcase. We all came out of it like a little bit bummed that they didn't give a firm date. But like Xbox needs to get better at this. Like they keep doing this where they announce too early. And I think this was their idea of trying to, mitigate that. Like let's not give a date early. So if we need to push it out, if the year does start to look a bit packed, we can give games a good release window. Like imagine how absolutely piss poor Avowed would have performed being squished between and this is just Xbox first party. World of Warcraft expansion, Age of Mythology, Ara, Diablo 4 DLC, Call of Duty, Flight Sim 2024, Stalker 2, Starfield DLC, maybe Starborn, and Indiana Jones as well.
It's a lot.
That's in the space of like 5 months. Like Avowed releasing in that, it just wouldn't have had anything.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to be jammed in here. I mean, and some of that is like smaller stuff, sure, but like it's still stuff that for a lot of people actually, especially when you think about like the Starfield DLC, like that's appealing to a lot of the same people that would play Avowed.
Yep.
So
And Dragon
maybe.
Age.
Oh yeah, and Dragon Age, yeah. So like you kind of just you're kind of alienating your own audience. You're making your audience pick and choose, and like
That's right.
if it doesn't go in Avowed's direction, then the game underperforms. So yeah, no, 100%. I'm not upset with this at all.
No. Good. The only other thing that I would probably bring to this conversation is like what that means for 2025. It makes 2025 look like a very strong year again, which is great. It already looks quite strong. I think what was it we had on the cards? It was Doom, Fable, South of Midnight, and there's something else that I'm struggling to put my finger on.
Doom, Fable,
I
South of
don't think we got
Midnight.
any like release dates for like State of Decay 3 or Perfect Dark. That I'm pretty sure there was something else.
What about that one being made by Compulsion Games? Didn't that get?
South of Midnight.
No, the other one, the kind of steampunky one, not Compulsion Games. I'm
Oh,
thinking,
in Exile you're talking about, yeah.
yeah, didn't that get like
In
a?
Exile.
It's further
No,
along than you think and looking pretty damn good. No.
Clockwork Revolution. No, we didn't get anything about that this year. But I mean, they might show it off again. I swear there's something I'm missing, but yeah, that's okay. Point being that if Avowed now moves into that year as well, and they can have that steady cadence of like, imagine going into Avowed quarter 1, Doom quarter 2, South of Midnight quarter 3, Fable quarter 4. Like, that is very strong. That's not
Yeah.
including the other stuff that they do. The only thing that I would say that this delay tells is that Fable is at the end of 2025, because Fable and Avowed, even though they're in different perspectives, fantasy, RPG, I
Yeah.
think there's enough
Naturally.
overlap there where they probably want to space them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they kind of step on each other's toes a little bit just from the whole just genre of it. Yeah. Mm.
So, yeah, just an interesting little thing to think about. And, again, this is like a great position to be in, that Xbox can finally be in the place where they have so much content that they're able to just move stuff around to have their own windows. And I hope that they get into the, routine of doing this. Like regularly, they need to be releasing games in quiet windows. Like Helldivers 2 coming out when it did really served the game well. Same with Power World. Like these early year sneaker hits,
Yeah.
sleeper hits. There's a reason they perform well. It's because everyone's got nothing else to play. There's nothing new. So
True. True. Yeah. I think them keeping it. Yeah, ideally, I think in the first few months, I think would be ideal. If you can keep it either January or February, I think you're kind of winning there. March would be nice too, but yeah.
yeah, definitely. Good. Okay. Well, that kind of brings all of our stories to a close. The Gamescom is due to happen. I think it was towards the end of August, so I doubt we'll have more to talk about for that next week. But I'm just seeing on Twitter that they are saying that they're going to have new trailers, first look gameplay, and deep dive interviews. So I think it's
Nice.
probably fair to expect some more stuff for first party titles, whether that's release dates or more gameplay. So that should be quite exciting, hopefully. And they keep touting that it's their biggest Gamescom ever. So hopefully, there is some stuff to look forward to.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it'll be one to tune in. But isn't Gamescom always on like a really fucking shit time for us in the UK?
I think it is, yeah.
It's
It
always on
usually
at like
is.
3 a.m. if I remember correctly. It's something stupid like that. I don't know for sure, but because I know that we've never really watched it, and I know mainly because there's never been a massive Xbox presence, but I'm pretty sure there's some sort of time thing there as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's have a look. 7. It goes on for 4 days. Usually they have their presentation on the first day, don't they? Oh no, that's the consumer show opening times. I don't know. I can't find. Oh, here we go. Xbox at Gamescom, Wednesday, the 21st of August. Great. So a couple of weeks. 6 a.m. PDT. Oh, 2 p.m. BST. So there we go. So it's in the middle of the day,
Okay.
which is still not ideal, but it
Uh,
means we probably won't be able to stream that because it's a work day.
Take a late lunch and watch it. Yeah, might not be able to stream it, but might be able to watch it. Yeah.
21st of August. Actually, 20. I might be able to. We'll liaise. We'll talk about that. I might be able to. But yeah,
We'll liaise.
should be
We'll
quite a bit
liaise.
to look forward to. We'll liaise.
Yeah.
We'll liaise. We'll liaise.
Yeah. My assistant will be in touch.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, we're going to
Sweet.
bring the show to a close there, guys. Nice to have a chat about all of this. Like talking about fiscal years, isn't that just hunky dory? You like
That's
that?
exactly what I want to talk about. Can we have our own deep dive into our own personal fiscal years? Actually, you probably
Yeah,
don't.
I
You
don't want
probably
to do
don't.
that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're both, but you especially. I mean, I'm a
Most of it's just on
homeowner,
peanut butter pretzels.
so
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a mortgage, so that's pretty cool. But it's just everything else is
you know,
pretty tight.
take your wins though, man. Take your wins.
Yeah, well, it's great. No, it's all good. It's all fine.
All right.
Okay.
Wrapping up.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you like today's show, can I remind you, please, to like the video. Please consider subscribing. That would mean a lot to us. Come and say hi to me or Tim on Twitter. And also, if you're listening on any of the podcast services, give us a rating there, however they do it. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Me
I
neither.
don't even know where this podcast goes to. I know it goes to Spotify. I don't know where else it goes
I
to.
click buttons and
use
it
the-
flings off.
Literally, yeah. I mean, I figured it all out to begin with, and I've now forgotten how it all works. So wherever you're listening, if it's on a fridge, got your head stuck in the microwave and you're listening to it there, just click the like button or whatever. Ciao.
Bye, Rob.